Good evening. Today I'm speaking to Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hello, thanks for having me. Yeah, my name's Nathan Scammel. I'm a fantasy author, and my first book, Escape from Arcadia, comes out on the 1st of May. In fact, actually, the paperback is out now, but the ebook comes out on the 1st of May. And for those who haven't seen it, it's my author copy.
Did you always want to be a writer?
Kind of. I always wanted to write for video games. I always wanted to write the stories in computer games and stuff like that. And just growing up, that's what I always wanted to do. But when I kind of went to work, I started working at Asda and become a manager there, and then kind of couldn't afford to leave or pursue anything. Kind of got caught in the golden handcuffs of work. And then when I left Asda, I decided to start my own business, which was going to be a bookshop with a coffee shop in, so people could come and read, have a coffee, and kind of relax. But then COVID hit. I had kind of everything all planned out. I had the premises where I was going to go. I had kind of everything, and then it all kind of fell through. So I had 3,000 secondhand books delivered to my house. Well, I say house, my one-bedroom flat. So when I managed to finally sell the mountain of books I had at home through kind of eBay, which was a lot harder than I expected it to be, I kind of decided, right, what do I want to do? And then I kind of thought back, and I've always wanted to write, and I've had this idea for a story, and now is kind of the perfect chance. And if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, and then I'm always going to regret not doing it.
Is the bookshop and coffee shop idea something you're going to pick up again?
Probably not now, because that was kind of, I've always had a kind of a business mind. I've always wanted to run my own business. But now that I've kind of gone self-publishing with my books, my book is my business, and I really get a kick out of writing, and I get excited over it, and I never get excited over anything. I'm very kind of deadpan, kind of flatline, but I'm loving what I'm doing at the minute. So this is what I want. It's took me 30 years. I'm 31 now, and I finally found out, right, this is what I want to do.
Oh, brilliant. And what made you choose fantasy as your genre?
So fantasy is the 90% of the books I read are fantasy. I grew up with Harry Potter. He was like the same age as me, so Harry Potter was a big influence on me as a kid. Lord of the Rings, loved the movies, loved the book. And then I kind of got into reading Wheel of Time, Mistborn, and all the big epic fantasies. And so I always thought that's where I want to write, and now I've started writing it, and I am enjoying writing it. And now I'm thinking I want to kind of write horror as well. So but I haven't read much horror, to be fair. So I've bought a few Stephen King books to read up on it. So I may branch out into something else, but only once I finish my fantasy trilogy.
So that was my next question. Is it a series you're writing? So it's a trilogy of plans.
Yeah, so yeah, it is a trilogy. This is book 1, Escape from Arcadia. Then book 2 is going to be called Return to Arcadia, I think. And then book 3, working title, is Rise of Arcadia.
Do you find it more difficult to come up with character names and place names when you're writing fantasy?
Kind of. I spent about a couple of hours a long time ago just kind of, and I've got a little book full of weird names that I found in a baby names book. And I've kind of jotted down loads of men's names and loads of women's names. So anytime I need a character name now, I kind of pull out the drawer, look in the book. Oh yeah, I can use this name. So I've got like a little cheat sheet of weird fancy names. And also I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and I kind of speak to people that I've played with, and I say, can I use your character's name in my book? So a lot of people, because they always come up with like really good fantasy names. So a lot of the people that I've played Dungeons and Dragons with, they'll notice their characters are in the book at some point.
That's really cool. And you said about writing for games. Is that something you'd still like to do, or is it now just books?
Yeah, again, I would have to start from the bottom because you can't. Maybe no, yeah, I want to work for myself, and I want to carry on with the novels, and I'm enjoying the novels. I wouldn't like, because if I was to work for a game company writing video games, I would have to write what they wanted me to write, whereas I'm enjoying my freedom of writing whatever I want to write too much, you know. So I'd like to keep it that way now.
If you were to put yourself in your novels, would you get on with your main characters?
No, mainly because I'm a bit of a dick, if I'm honest. I think he would just you know, get on my nerves a bit. Like, just enjoy, because it's all about he wants freedom and he wants to get out and stuff. And I'd kind of just be like, no, just relax, you know. Let's just take 5. Let's just chill out. We're happy with what we got, you know. Let's take a load off.
Is there any book in all of history that you'd like to be a character in yourself?
Probably Harry Potter. You know, I would like to go, even though they kind of, it's very dangerous for children and they have no kind of health and safety regulations. I'd still like to go to Hogwarts to learn how to use magic and just be part of that world, because I think that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely, no question.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's just awesome. And, you know, you can cheat with little things that you can't do in the real world. So, yeah, why wouldn't you want to go to Hogwarts?
And I would be like the ultimate lazy person with, I'd use magic for everything. You know, like the Weasleys have got like the pans washing up by themselves. I'd be like that in the house, like clean kitchen, clean the living room.
Use your wand to bring something from the other side of the room. Yeah.
Open the fridge and bring a beer out with the wand.
Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? ACO beer, and just a beer flies out of the fridge. Yeah. I'd never leave this chair.
Yeah. Well, you might have to if Voldemort suddenly decides to come out and attack again.
I'd offer him a beer, and he'd probably get over it. What are you getting yourself worked up for, Voldemort? We can get beer without moving. We can do whatever we want, just sit down and chill for a bit.
Oh, I love if anyone has never read or watched Harry Potter that has no clue what we're talking about. It would be very funny. At least we can say his name anyway. At least,
Yeah.
you know, we're brave. We can say Voldemort. We're not scared of him. Do you get a chance to read much?
Yeah, I find it hard to read while I'm writing. Otherwise, I project what I'm reading into the book that I'm writing. So I kind of try to avoid it when I'm intensely writing. One of the things is I was reading Wheel of Time, rereading Wheel of Time, because it's one of my favorites. And my character in my book is called Cad, or Cadric, and the main character of Wheel of Time is called Rand. And I found myself kept writing Rand instead of Cad, even though they're kind of not very similar. They're not alike or anything. It's just because I had that name in my head. You know, I cross it out.
And have you always only read fantasy, or have you read other genres?
I've read other genres, but not in the capacity that I've read fantasy. Just looking over at my bookshelf now, I got a couple of sci-fi. I like a bit of sci-fi. I don't do romance. I don't do erotica. I only read the dirty pages of 50 Shades of Grey and skimmed over the rest because it was new at the time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And now I'm starting to get into a bit of horror. I read a action, like a thriller, which I'm going to start reading more of as well. I read a Don't Blink by James Patterson, and I found it strange because it was the first time I've read a whole novel that was in a first person perspective, and I've never read a whole novel like that before. So at first I found it weird, but I got into it and I started to enjoy it.
Yeah, his books are great. And Stephen King's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read loads. Loads. Who would be the author that you would like to spend a day with, dead or alive, if you had a chance?
Oh, I'm kind of torn on this one between. I would like to speak to Tolkien because he's kind of like the grandfather of all fantasy novels. But I also would like to speak to Brandon Sanderson because his like the things that he thinks of and the things that he creates, the worlds that he creates are amazing. And I think that in just an hour I could learn so much from him. And I would come back like a much more knowledgeable person, and it would like really help me.
Is that the biggest difference in fantasy and that sort of thing, is the world building compared to, say, crime or romance?
Yeah, so I use a website called World Anvil, and you can create the world on there, and it just gives you a understanding, because I just write. I don't plan anything. I just write, but I found that I was tripping over myself and getting lost. So I just made a map and stuck it on World Anvil, and then who lives where, what's, just so I can keep up to track with the characters and where they're going, because otherwise they just get lost. And I don't know what I'm doing.
And throughout your series, you planning? Have you got a list of characters and everything, so you know where you are when you get to the last book?
No, I don't. I didn't know the ending of the first book until I wrote it, because I wasn't sure how I was going to end it. I have a pretty good idea how I'm going to end the third book. The second one I'm not so sure about. I know kind of. I was talking to a friend about it today. I know what needs to happen in the book, but I also need to figure out what the standalone story is going to be in the book. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of a bit of filler and pointless. So a bit like Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, for instance. He had the battle with the past Tom Riddle and beat the basilisk. So that story was contained and finished with, but you still had Voldemort's return, and you still had. So I need to figure the middle, the story of the second book, and then hopefully the third book will come quickly once I've done that. It's just
I read a lot of crime, and a lot of crime authors tell me that the crime author community is really supportive. Have you made friends in the author community, and is it the same?
I have made so many friends in the author community, and I've never known a community to be so helpful and giving as the author community. I started off kind of tentatively looking in groups and stuff, and I'd comment every now and then. And then Pro Writing Aid held a Fantasy Writers Week, and so I joined because fantasy writer, and it was free. And I learned so much, and I networked with a lot of people, and I thought this is my opportunity to meet kind of like-minded authors. And yeah, now I've got a list, such a comprehensive list, and I'm actually a moderator of the fantasy writers group for Pro Writing Aid because of that, because I networked so much and I really enjoyed it. And then I started getting into World Anvil, and I've networked with a load of people in World Anvil. And now one of my best friends is actually someone I met through World Anvil, whose name is Jamie Buckley, who writes A Wanted Hero. And his artwork is incredible. And he's helped me so much. Again, all just kind of to be helpful, not for anything. And then Pro Writing Aid actually held a Crime Writers Week last week, I think it was, and I joined just because it's kind of good to learn outside your genre. And again, such a supportive and such a helpful community. I didn't network as much in that one because I was so busy, but it's so easy to kind of make friends in the author community, because everybody's just you're not competing against each other, even though you're all writing fantasy. your target audience isn't going to be someone who buys one book a year. So you don't have to kind of like, this is mine, this is mine. You can share and you can help, and it won't impact your sales, or, you know, if anything, it will help them because you become like affiliated with other authors and stuff. So I think that's why the author community is so helpful and friendly.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even for readers, actually, it's nice to be involved. Do you get much feedback from readers?
No, not yet, because the book only come out today, really. So it got released for sale yesterday, and then the deliveries would have come out today. But I've had beta readers and some ARC readers, and the feedback's been really good from them. And, you know, it makes me like do a little happy dance sort of thing, to know that people are enjoying it. And you know, people are asking for signed copies even after they've read it, which makes me happy. And yeah, and people asking for when's the next one out, when's the next one out, you know, it is really good.
Yep, you're gonna have to get used to that, I think.
I hope so.
Totally forgot what I was going to ask you then. Oh, what's the most interesting thing you found doing research for your books?
Interesting thing you found in research. I'm not a big, there is a big thing in the author community where people research like crazy things, kind of, particularly in crime, because it's like, you know, how, you know, when they're Googling like how long does it take for blood to drain from a body and stuff, and makes them look like serial killers. But I don't really do research like that. I kind of, because my world is fantasy, I just kind of make it up. I don't really care that it's anatomically correct or anything. I just go with it and chuck it in, even if it doesn't if it doesn't work. But in answer to the question, I couldn't give. Yeah, I'm not one of those authors that look up like crazy wild things. No, I did. I just remembered. I looked up, is it possible for a sword, like how much strength do you have to put in a sword to cut like arms and stuff off? To know if that was physically possible, or is it just something you see in movies? You know, does it need to be a certain? But apparently you can. So it's quite easy.
Yeah, if it's sharp enough and the person's strong enough, then yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's what I thought. You must still need to do a little bit of research, even though most of it's made up. There must be some.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always
remember.
What's your biggest dream as an author?
Biggest dream. So my biggest one, it sounds silly. Well, it's not silly, but it's to just walk into Waterstones and pick my book up from the shelf and just be like, oh, look, this is my book. I would love to make a living off it. I have lots of money from writing. And the other one, what was the other one? It was a little one. I would just call it that. Yeah, the Waterstones, and I don't know why Waterstones. It's the main one in the UK. It'd just be like awesome to see my book on the shelf.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone wants, isn't it? If I ever write a book, I'd love to go in a shop and see it there. So
I'd be one of those pain in the asses as well. I'd like linger around, and then if someone picks it up, I'll be, oh, I can sign that for you if you want. I wrote that.
I wrote it. Yeah. Yeah, me too. Just every day, just be a real loser and just go stand there and linger until I got kicked out and banned.
Somewhere else in the customers.
Yeah, I have a feeling this may have been done before. So after you've written your trilogy, are you thinking of going straight into horror, or are you going to have a break, or you're going to write standalones?
I've got a few projects on the go at the moment, quite a few plates spinning. So I'm currently building a website that is sci-fi stories for children. So it's called the universe under my bed, and it's written in second person, so it's the child is the hero of the story. So it's like, you do this, you do that, and you see this. And so what it is, it's like there's a solar system under their bed that Father Time takes them to, and then they can go to each planet and each planet has its own kind of weird laws and stuff. But also each planet is got a dedicated age range for readers. So the first planet, which is called Pantania, is for like 3 to 5-year-olds, for their parents to help them read. So it's like the basic stuff. And in that universe, kind of, so they wear their pants on their heads and their socks on their hands. And it kind of, so, and like part of the story, and the parents will hate me for this, but in the beginning, it's like, oh, you know, you don't want to walk in like you are because you will look strange to them. So you need to put your disguise on, get your pants on your head, get your socks on your hands, and then we can go into this world and explore and stuff like that. And then, but as it gets older, and this was the main aim of the series, is I wanted to tackle kind of not adult themes, but things that, especially me as a father, find difficult to talk to children about, that shouldn't be difficult to talk about. So trying to normalize things like disabilities, sexual orientation, and just things like that, that, you know, it is normal and we should, it's just part of life. And that I'm trying hard to build that into the stories, to try and help kids understand things like mental illness. So I suffer a lot with mental illness, and I really find it hard telling my kids about it. And they kind of pick up on certain things, but I find it hard to have the conversation. But I have told them through a story about depression and stuff like that. You know, it's because it's the shadow that comes over the brain and makes you feel sad and stuff, and there's nothing magical about it. So like the wizards and stuff, you know, it's not from their world, it's not from the universe under the bed, it's from Earth. And just to try and make it relevant to the children, in hopes that they can, for parents like me who find it hard to talk about these things, they can kind of, the children will read the stories, and if 1 out of 100 children think, oh, I think I can relate, like my dad or my mum kind of sounds like this. That's the aim of it anyway.
That sounds absolutely incredible, and I will be keeping an eye on that and advertising it as much as possible when you finish it, because that sounds amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
How many kids have you got, and how old are they?
I've got 2 kids. My boy is 8 and my daughter is 5.
Oh, little and still.
Yeah, and they got they're my dedication in the book as well. So the dedication page, I did it to them because they are my biggest fans. And so my boy always talks about how I'm going to sell millions of books, and when I sell 1 million books, I can buy him an Xbox. That's the plan.
Priorities for kids, they know that. And would you want them to read your books when they're old enough?
Yeah, there's a little bit of swearing in this book, like only a little tiny bit, and there is one scene that made me uncomfortable writing it, but apparently it's not too bad. Like, there's the feedback, because I was kind of, because it's a young adult novel, and I was worried, have I gone too dark in this section? But the feedback I've got is no, it's not too dark. So I'm a bit relieved of that. But there is something that's going to happen in the second book that has to happen, that is going to be difficult to write as well, which I don't really. So it answers the question that I do. Yeah, they will read it. Hopefully it doesn't scar them too much anyway. In fact, I'm gonna sneak a copy into my boy's school bag, so when he goes to school and he's like showing all the kids and stuff, maybe they'll tell their dads to buy them or something, or their mums to. Oh, my friend's got a book. In school, his dad wrote.
Well, you might be able to talk to the schools and get them in there anyway. So
well, these ones probably not. But the Universe Under the Bed, it started as a book, but then I thought it would be better as an interactive website. So you don't have, but maybe, down the line there'll be novels or something associated with the universe and stuff like that. Make it multi-platform sort of thing. It's one of those ones that should just keep growing and growing.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got loads of scope with that to do all sorts. So, and schools especially could use it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it does brilliantly.
Thank you.
So what do you like to do when you're not writing?
I play the Xbox like my children. I'm very childish. And then I've got a husky who you can kind of see him
Oh yeah.
down there. He's asleep at the moment, but he's a pain in the ass, and he takes a lot of he always needs attention. So we always go out for walks twice a day, and we have quite a lot of fun. And that is about it. I lead a very simple life. I walk twice a day with the dog and play with the kids and play the Xbox and write.
It sounds like bliss to me. So post lockdown, you have a concert you can go to, and an event you can go to, and then any other thing of your choice to do. What would you like to do?
Well, I wouldn't like to go to a concert because I'm miserable and I hate people. I just the thought of being surrounded by loads of people all shouting and dancing would annoy me.
Working in retail does that to you, doesn't it? It's your people forever.
I guess I would like to get to more kind of, and this is more for self-promotion, is like book events and stuff like that. Because I never been to one as a reader. So I guess now is probably a good time to start going to them as writers, and try and just get the word out and kind of interact with readers and other writers and stuff again, network. Because it does get it's quite a lonely business, writing. I know I said I don't like people, but when you're sat in the house 5 days a week with no or 7 days a week with no adult interaction, it does get a bit lonely at times. So it would be nice to get out and see some people.
And what about, is there any countries you'd like to visit?
I would, yeah. So New Zealand is on my list. I've never been abroad before, so it would be an adventure. But New Zealand, and that's only because they filmed Lord of the Rings there, and it's really beautiful. And I would love to just go there for a kind of a week and just with my laptop and just write out in a field where you can see all the mountains and stuff. So I think that would be pretty inspirational. And but apart from that, I don't have much wanderlust. I've kind of booked a little getaway in June, which is it's just a hotel a bit further up in England, where I'm just going to lock myself in the room for 3 days without a phone, without a laptop, and just rest and kind of block the world out and just relax. That's more of my holiday than a getaway.
I don't blame you. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Oh, that's a tough one. I can't remember if it was Angelina Jolie or Jennifer Aniston. It might have been both of them at the same time. And then I remember Brad Pitt dumping Jennifer Aniston for Angelina Jolie and thinking he was the luckiest man in the world because he had both women that I absolutely adored. Angelina Jolie because she was in Tomb Raider as well. So that was I'm pretty sure they were my first celebrity crushes.
They're both still hot now as well, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Don't know how they do it. It's very
Jennifer Aniston hasn't actually aged, I don't think, since.
No, she's in her 50s. My
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what being rich does. I don't know. Is there any book you wish you'd written?
Well, I wish I'd written Harry Potter so I'd have the millions. But apart from that, no, there's not. In that, because I've enjoyed reading them and they've been a bit of an inspiration to me. So I probably, even though I would have been much more successful if I had wrote Harry Potter, but it's given me inspiration to write my own. And so I'd like to say I'm glad I've wrote my book. Is
That's the right attitude. And what's your biggest fear, and would you write about it?
Biggest fear. Biggest fear. I get it'd be something rubbish, you know. It's not like giant spiders or anything. It would be something like loneliness or something like that. And then again, it's not really a fear. It's just something I don't want. But and I would actually, if there was something, especially like I said, I like to write, or I have been thinking about writing some horror. So if there was something, and that's another project that I'm just on the start of now. It's less about writing, and it was going to be a YouTube channel called called Let's. I don't know if we're allowed to swear on you, but it's called Let's Piss Off Ghosts, and it's basically taking like Ouija boards and stuff into cemeteries and doing all the things that they tell you mustn't do with a Ouija board. You know, don't count backwards from 10, don't invite spirits into your home and stuff like that. I did a short video on my Facebook where we went into the bathroom and called Bloody Mary, but nothing happened except for I banged the bath to make a loud banging noise. But it's just going to be a bit like that, and just, you know, to take the piss of it and have a bit of fun with it, and have people on the edge of their seats like, oh, we shouldn't be doing that. And then if I die because a demon gets me, then you know, and there we go. You know, it happened.
Yeah, I'm sure your kids would be thrilled when they find
Yeah.
out that you died because you're messing with stuff you shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I'll wake up in the morning and see my daughter's head spinning around 360 degrees.
Oh,
Yeah.
probably best not to. Just in case, you know. I'm sure it's fine, but, you know, just in case.
Send her back to her mother's.
Oh, you'd be dead anyway then.
Yeah,
If you sent her with her head on back to front, you would be
yeah,
a dead man.
yeah. The mother would kill me, let alone the ghosts.
Oh dear, yeah, I wouldn't. Just friendly advice, really. Is there any period in time you'd like to go back to?
No. And technology, I can't do without a warm house. And, you know, everybody says, you know, they'd love to go back to like the Middle Ages and stuff like that, but, you know, you're crapping in a bucket, and I just couldn't deal with that. And you know, everybody would smell because there's no showers. So I'm quite happy being in the present. I would go back a week or something just to put the right lottery numbers on, but I wouldn't like to go to a history in time because it would be smelly and uncomfortable.
See, this is my theory, and this to me is the right answer, especially like you say, smelly, and, you know, medication and stuff. Like there wasn't, you know, now we have antibiotics and anesthetic, and I'd quite like to keep those actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I'd probably have one of them doctors kind of drill a hole in my skull because saying like you've got demons in the brain or something like that. So, you know.
I know you got locked up for reading, and then, you know, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and he
Long
is
before you called the witch.
So do you want to show us your book again that's out on the 1st of May, and just tell us again what it's about?
Bear with me, I'll get the proper copy because that one's got the not for sale sign all over it. So that is the book, Escape from Arcadia, and it's a young adult novel. So it's about a town. The town is called Arcadia, and it's surrounded by a magical barrier, and no one can come in and no one can get out. So it kind of causes a bit of hardship in the town where population control, you know, you can't have too many babies, you can only have one child because there's not enough room or resources. They hardly ever eat meat, and when they do, it's from animals that have died of old age, because they haven't got the space to kind of breed and slaughter and stuff like that. So, you know, they'll have a cow, they have some cows for milk, but they don't kill the cows for beef. But when a cow does die, you know, it's party time. And there's kind of conflict in the town where some people believe the barrier protects them and they kind of worship the barrier. But some people want the barrier to come down because they can see that the town won't survive, because the quality of the soil's getting poorer, the crops are getting smaller, things are getting tougher. and they want to get out, but it's kind of the conflict, and the main character wants to get out, but he can't tell anybody because you know he'd be branded a heretic. His parents love the barrier. Yeah, and it is a spoiler, but it happens, and it's probably expected. But he does get out, and because he's kind of controlled a lot in the world as well. So he's, you know, you don't choose what job you've got; you just have whatever job is available at the time, because it's dead man's boots. And so once you've come of age, the council assigns you a job, and he hates being told what to do, which is a lot like me, I suppose. I guess that part is, you know, I hate being told what to do. And then he gets out of the town and he thinks, finally, I'm free. And then he gets locked up because, you know, and then he's like locked up, and then he gets out of that, and then he finds out that he's part of a prophecy, and it is a bit of the chosen one. But again, he's a bit like, I don't want to, I just want to be free. I just want to do whatever I want to do. I don't want to do what they told me to do. I don't want to do what you told me to do. So it's kind of his fight against freedom is the main, it's kind of, yeah, free will and destiny is the kind of the balancing. You know, he's destined to do something. He just wants his free will.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any more questions for you, unless you think there's anything I haven't asked you that you want to tell us about.
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, the book's out now, the paperback, and then yeah, the ebook is available from pretty much everywhere: Kobo, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and the ebook's out on the 1st of May.
And do you want to tell everyone where they can find more about you?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Facebook, so there'll probably be a link. I use my main profile as my main thing because I do have a page, Nathan on Writing. It kind of gets neglected. I just use my main profile for my information about books and things like that. And then you can find me on Twitter at NathScam or Instagram, Nathan Scammel Author. Yeah, and that's it.
Awesome. Well, brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for having me.